This is CRO Customs new bike for 805 beer, Central Coast. And here we have the owner, Mr. Caleb Owens.
Well,
what the hell have you done here?
I wish I was the owner. I'm the builder.
You're the builder, yeah, but you're the owner of CRO Customs for sure.
Yeah.
So, give me some hard facts on this bike.
It's a 1951 Panhead FL with pretty much all original. It's a really unique bike. Unique in the sense I'm one of the first, if not the first bike I'm actually building for a company.
Yeah.
Usually I build for guys that ride them. 805, I've been doing some work with them for the last couple of years with my analog run, which has been, they've been a massive supporters and great people. So they asked me to build a bike, and I said I'll build a bike as long as I can build what I want to build, something I would ride.
You are the boss.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about doing stuff like this is you build something like this, and it's hard to let it go. but anyway, so it's a 1951 FL, all original. I had the parts, bought the cases, some other engine components, and the frame together. Engine was rebuilt from the crank pin up all the way up, everything original.
Yep.
For the most part, everything original. I'd say the motor's probably 98% original. There's some, like the rocker covers are probably aftermarket, things like that. Some small things, but the meat of the matter is all original Harley, which is what I shoot for. Original frame, original Harley front end that's heavily modified and lowered about 3.5 inches or so.
Are you inspired of a certain era, like early 60s or?
I mean, I've always just loved the old stuff, old Harleys in general, 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s for sure.
Yep.
And that's been my love ever since I was young, primarily because of my brothers, really. And
so you grew up in a motorcycle family?
Yeah, my brothers were into old Harleys, and so I kind of got that from them. But then I just, I have an affinity for the old stuff. There's nothing like it. And
so parts here are like, is that swap meet things you found during the years, or?
Yeah, some you collect them. If you start, with the idea of building a particular period motorcycle, and if you can't find a complete bike, you find parts, and you collect parts over a period of time. And sometimes it takes a long time to collect all the parts you want. And sometimes you get a part and maybe you trade it for a different one. Everybody that's into old bikes knows how that works. But I had a good base of parts for this thing, and then I collected a handful of more parts. The tanks are original.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, most of it's original. The rims, obviously, are aftermarket. There's aluminum rear 18, but again, like all the guts are original. The primary cover is a beautiful primary cover that's made by Jason Ferris Cycles. He casts a few of those.
Where is he out of?
He's up in Northern California, but I believe he's actually moving to Kansas, believe it or not. But he does some beautiful work, and so I actually traded some of my parts for this casted primary, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's clean.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So.
You said you did a lot of remodeling on the front
end.
Lots
of custom work. I mean, I'm really into subtle stuff, and sometimes the subtle stuff actually takes a lot longer than doing something crazy. But yeah, the front end is shaved lower legs, obviously, shaved triple trees. Again, it's all original, but everything's shaved and cleaned up. Lowered front end. Pretty dramatically. Handlebars are one-offs I made. Took an enormous amount of time to do those. Very
Is
subtle.
it shorter than a stock?
Oh yeah. It's a lot shorter. Yeah. And then with the 18 and the shortened front end, it gives it a nice sort of a nice stocky stance to it.
But those Firestone wheels, how?
I've heard a lot of good things about them. This is the first time I run one on a bike, that particular one on the front, but I've heard a lot of things about them. I always run a lot of the Coker Firestone tires, like the one I have on the rear, and they're good tires. But all the custom stuff is pretty obvious. Fender's custom. The sissy bar obviously is custom.
The exhaust.
Yeah, the exhaust is custom, modified Paco exhaust.
All
Heavily
right.
modified Paco exhaust. Boyle Custom Moto, Kim Boyle, he manufactures this beautiful carb cleaner that I still have some work to do on, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful piece.
So you would say it's 95% done?
I'd say 98. Let's go
98.
98%.
Okay.
I'm hoping the last few things this week, and I'll hopefully fire it up this week.
But
this-
don't change your mind and start doing new parts.
No,
When it
exactly.
will never be finished.
Exactly. So some cool stuff like this piece here is actually a valve cover off of a Ford. It's like a Cal
Cool.
Customs cast valve cover. That's obviously I cut the piece out of it.
Yeah.
So I took a piece for the dash, and then I made a piece for the shield on the exhaust. LaPera, amazing, came through with the seat, which is I can't say enough about LaPera. They are like pretty much the standard in seats. They've been doing it since the 70s.
Yeah.
Still a family business.
Yeah,
Incredibly,
that's what I like.
oh
Still
man,
family.
incredibly nice people, beautiful people. They sent me a pan. I modified the pan, went over there and worked with them on the shape, and they hand shaped that seat and finished it for me, which is just blows me away. It's a beautiful, beautiful seat.
And this amazing emblem.
Yeah, I've been wanting. I threw the idea by 805, and they're like, "Yeah, go for it." So I designed the emblem, obviously with their logo,
Yeah.
and it's always a touchy thing doing, obviously a company kind of bike, and I didn't want it to look like a company bike. I wanted it to be classy. I didn't want logos everywhere, so I wanted to have that Harley Davidson feel of a nice logo on the side, and not all be 805 everywhere. So
You see this at the second glance. You don't see it at first.
exactly. So that's kind of was the whole idea.
Yeah.
So what I did was, instead of machining them or casting them, I wanted something more subtle. So I had them etched, actually. They're acid etched
Right.
into aluminum. And then I anneal the aluminum and shape it to the tank. So yeah, it's
Some hours then.
a lot of hours, but I've learned a lot, and it's a new sort of technique I can kind of incorporate in some of the building I'm doing. So I'm excited about that.
I could tell you about branding. I was just riding this Indian chieftain, and I counted. They had the name Indian and the logo at
Everywhere.
30 places.
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, I mean, branding is important. I mean, you want to take pride in your work, but I've never been one to plaster my name on everything. I just want the work to speak for itself, you know. And so even having CRO Customs on the emblem is makes me a little unnerved, but I think it's subtle enough that it's not in your face, you know. So it makes me.
It's
Makes
a
you feel better
fantastic bike, Caleb.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I mean, if Harley see it, they will think it's coming from Milwaukee, I think.
Well,
Willie G will definitely give the okay
Yeah.
for this.
Well, I mean, that's a nice compliment. Thank you. And I strive to try to keep everything classy. You know, the idea is that, you know, you hope that the bike is cool 20 or 30 years from now, you know. That's kind of the idea. Not over
You
the top.
set the new standard.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Back to basics, but still, it's a bike you have to look at many times to see the work behind it.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's always like every guy that builds a bike will tell you it's a labor of love. So
The labor of love.
yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to film this
Oh, thanks.
labor of love.
Thanks for coming, man. It's always a pleasure to see you.
California dreaming.